Hello and welcome to a guide to using the Connections Online Quiz League web interface. So when you play your game, you will be on a Zoom. Hopefully you should have been sent a link by your host, and this you'll pass on to your teammates, or your captain will pass to you. Once you're in the Zoom, you will be sent a link to the game, so you will not have any screen sharing from the host. It will purely be a link for rounds 1, 2 and 4. You will also get a link for your third grid round, and that will appear once you get moved into a breakout room. So once you click on the link, you should see this screen that says please type your first and last name followed by your team name, and that's pretty self-explanatory. Once you're on the screen, you should see this. So you should see what you're logged in as and then who is also there. So you should hopefully see the name host and your other teammates as well as your opposition. As an initial test, you'll be shown the two team names. So in this case, we've got team 1 and team 2. The order is just sort of randomly determined, but you should see this detail. If you're not seeing this, then there's possibly an issue with your system, and your host will go through that with you. So I'd recommend not using a work laptop because of VPNs, and I'd also recommend using just a laptop or something where you can see both your browser and your Zoom link as well. So you'll be shown a buzzer as like a test, and what you should do at this point is ensure the buzzer works. You can't really use spacebar, but you should be able to use a mouse to kind of click on it. And once that has been clicked on, you will see that it should come up as green and whatever you have chosen to log in as. Not critical for round 3, but for rounds 1, 2 and 4 you will need a working buzzer and access to the buzzer. The team that goes first alphabetically will be asked if they want heads or tails to determine who goes first. So shortly there should be a coin, and you will see this on your screen. This is all controlled by the host. So in this case it's been tails, and depending on how successful it's been, that will determine whether the team who has won the coin toss goes first or second. You will then see 6 emojis. These may change, but at this point you will pick an emoji or ask the host to pick an emoji. They will click something on their end, and in this case the trans pride flag has disappeared because that's the emoji you've chosen. And once that has been chosen, you should shortly see your first clue. So you have a minute in this first round to say what follows. So in this instance, you've shown this picture. You'll be discussing with your team whether you know who this is or not. And at the point where you go, actually, we're not sure who this is, let's get another clue rather than risk it, you should be able to say next please or next whatever to your host, and you'll be shown the following clue. And that will go on throughout the games. You have got the full minute, and in this round you do have the option obviously to see all 4 clues. So for the first clue, if you get it on the first one, you get 5 points. So in this example we're kind of just going through who are these people. You might recognise the second one but struggling to pull his name. The third one is Pamela Anderson in her Baywatch gear, but what was her character called, you're not entirely sure. You can see in the corner that the time is going down, and it goes from yellow to 10, yellow from 10 and then red from 5, and then you would get the last clue if you weren't entirely sure. Buzz in within time, as you can see here, and you would give your answer. The host would then reveal if you're correct or not. And yeah, that's kind of the straightforward. So I've only got one example of round 1. There will also probably be some what we call fluff. So the host will explain, actually, here's what these clues are and what they mean, etc., etc. So what is coming up next is the emojis for round 2, where you have to say what comes or what is next in the sequence. So you would request an emoji. In this case, I think it's going to be floppy disk, and then your host will explain what you do. You have a minute to tell your host what comes forth in this sequence. So once that's been confirmed, you then start the game. The first clue in this instance is cub. So again, you will keep asking for clues, and you should be able to see them again. If there's any issues with seeing your buzzer or any of the clues, let the host know, because there could be a technical issue. Sometimes you'll think that your internet is working fine because you're on the Zoom and everything's going well, but it is quite responsive to slow internet connection. So always worth having a backup device or devices. So in this example, the person has asked for all of the first 3 clues, but because they need to solve the last clue, and that's where they can get the 2 points, you would just see a question mark. You won't see a follow-up clue in the way that you would in the first round where you're asked to link things. Similarly, at the 10-second point, it will go yellow to give you like a warning. Your host should also give you a warning at the sort of 10 or 5-second point, depending on their approach. And in this instance, someone buzzes in, knows that actually what they need to say is tog in this case, because in this example, all the questions are missing their vowel and it's going up A, E, I, and then we're looking for any country with an O. Where it's got EG, it means that you can give any valid example. Some questions are going to be very specific, so there's only one answer and you have to give it. Or you can potentially give a descriptive answer. It just depends on the question, so I'd always say just take a risk and go with what you can. Similarly, if someone is getting a question wrong and it goes over, there's no penalty for guessing when it comes over to you. You can just go for an answer, and if it's wrong, nothing should go terribly wrong. So just bringing up a very quick example here. So yeah, trying to kind of work out, what is going on in round 2. And again, if at this point a team buzzed in and got it wrong, it would continue for the opposition team. So if someone has buzzed in early in the other team, you won't be penalised. You will get to see all the clues that you would have seen had it gone all the way. So in this case, this is all of the members of ABBA, and we just wanted the last part of the name. This is an example of something that would need to be specific. You couldn't say, for example, the other one in ABBA who is not a nether. So there are various approaches and options in the game. So you will be given a new link in a breakout room by your host. This will be for round 3, which is the grid. You should see your team name. You'll be shown some flashing emojis just to make sure you're in the right link and you haven't stayed in the old one. So there's just some flashing emojis there, and you should hopefully, depending on how your host does it, see your team name in the corner or something to just distinguish that you're in a different room now and you should be in a different link. The purpose of the grid, or the rules of the grid, you've got 3 minutes to solve it. 1 point per group, 1 point per connection, for a maximum of 10 points. The grid, you'll have an option. I recommend a designated clicker at this point, because when multiple people click on the same one at once, particularly towards the end of the game, it can have an impact on the grid and working out goes as well. So as you can see here, I am trying my famous Johns, and it hasn't worked. I'm sort of trying doctors now, so Dr. Strange, Dr. Foster, Dr. Dolittle, Dr. Dre, also hasn't worked. So I'm just kind of looking around the grid, and at this point, 3 minutes is not a lot of time, but it's enough time to kind of get your bearings and really work out what the connections are and what the red herrings are. So still trying my doctors to no success, having a look around, remembering some Johns, and again, not working out. So I'm still looking around, looking at my doctors. And in the main game, you'll probably be clicking a lot more than this. You'll probably be much better at this, even though I've already seen it. But at this point, I work out that there are some words ending in synonyms for small. So I've got my first group. And then sort of go around and try my Johns again, because I've made that connection. I've had Pertwee ruled out, so that's made that a lot easier, and I've got 2 groups. As in other formats, the 2 groups leave you with 3 lives. You can see your lives in the left hand corner, And once you have that, you're limited. So either you'll wait for time to run out, or you'll run out of lives, or you'll get the group. So here I'm looking around, still trying my doctors, still trying to work out what is the other group or what it could be. And I think at this point I have an epiphany and realise that lube is an anagram for blue, genre is an anagram for green, and guy is an anagram for grey, etc. So I found all 4 of my groups. That's a guaranteed 4 points. I would now be asked what these groups are, or the group will be asked what these groups are. So the first group is the synonyms. So when you're asked, you will be given the answer, or if you've got it wrong, there'll be a reveal to say what it has happened. This will go on throughout the game if you get all 4 groups, or 4 groups I should say, and alternatively, if you don't get all of your groups, you will still get points for whatever connections you make, and you can still get 4 points even if you find none of your groups, but you're able to say what the connections are. The grid will be resolved, I said, as per the television version. So you will get to kind of know, and said maximum of 10 points, but you do have to get both the groups and the connections for that. So we now move on to round 4. As you can hopefully see, I've given everyone 10 points just because that was actually quite a straightforward group. Some weeks will be harder than others. So it's really important that your buzzer is visible and it works. So here I've hidden it, I've shown it again, and then I've buzzed in. So yeah, the buzzer is obviously key to only consonants, because it's a team round to a degree, but it tends to be kind of one person that buzzes in, and anyone can buzz in at this point. In earlier rounds you may leave buzzing into your captain, but at this point, if you see what it is and you're willing to go for it, buzz in as soon as possible, because 10 seconds isn't very long at all. So in this round you get 3 subjects. Within each subject are 4 clues, and you get 10 seconds per clue. So once you see the first clue, you get those 10 seconds. If you or anyone in your team buzzes in, anyone can answer from that team. If you get it correct, that's a point to the team. You won't see your points increasing, or in the case of buzzing in and getting it wrong or hesitating or anything else, you will potentially get a minus point. And again, you won't see that on the screen, but that will be summed up at the end. So in this subject, we've got a thing you might use to warm up and a thing you should probably not use. And this one is woolly jumper and woolly mammoth. And I would buzz in because I've got it. Well, at some point. And buzz in, you should see it go green. You will see it in a different colour if it's someone else in another team or another team member. So you say your answer, no hesitation, because that could lose you points. Immediately as you buzz in, your host will say your team name and you should respond with an answer. Alternatively, if you see something like this and you're not sure what it is, the 10 seconds will run up, but you should be made aware by your host that the 10 seconds is gone, because they will press a button on their end and it will simply say time is up, and they will reveal the answer. And this will go on throughout. So a maximum of 12 points available here, but obviously it's very easy to lose points, and you may need to consider your game if it's very close. So here is an example of another answer. So we've got electric blanket and electric eel. And the final clue here as well. So there will be, if there's either a host error or a user error or anything like that, there will usually some spares that can be used as well. That will be in the same subject as the previous subject as well. So if there are kind of human errors, we've got ways around them, and it shouldn't have an impact on the game. So good luck in your season, and I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you. Take care. Bye bye.